Greetings, my name is Paige Pinto and I will be presenting Sociology and Early History for my final project. Sociology is the study of social structures. It's an academic discipline that focuses on society. A society, in broad terms, is described as people living together within a community. And these people face a thing called stratification, in which they are separated into layers based on their religion, their gender, their age, education, race, ethnicity, class, or even their prestige. And sociologists, who are, again, the people who study sociology, have developed three different theories as to how they analyze and understand society. These theories include functionalist theory, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. Functionalist theory explains how society works as a whole. It can be described as a machine. Everything needs to work together in order for the machine to work. Conflict theory is based on competition over resources, basically how people of different classes compete for those resources, or opportunities, in other words. Symbolic interactionism is the face-to-face and one-on-one interactions these people have with one another. And the importance of sociology is dependent on a society because people are conformed to different values and norms. Values are the standards by which people define what is desirable or undesirable, and the norms are the expectations of right behaviors. And these values and norms shape the way people behave and the way their attitudes are portrayed. And this goes as far as to being sanctioned positively or negatively, whether you're accepted by the group or disapproved. And sociology was obviously non-existent when humans first came about, but societies did exist. And the humans that created society were Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and Neanderthals. These humans evolved into what we are today, or a close relative, or a relative. These early humans portrayed social behaviors. They had a language, they had self-awareness, they had social cooperation towards shared needs, which was how they stuck together in order to survive. And they had a sense of ethics. They had rituals for specific purposes, and they had the ability to visualize, and they had the ability to empathize. And one of the early societies were hunter-gatherers. And once these hunter-gatherers settled down and they began to live near rivers, they formed societies. And one important theory that came out of here was how women became an oppressed group from this. Females were once socially equal to men, but because they hunted alongside of them, and they brought in about 60% of the food source. However, in order to keep their groups alive or to survive, the women had to give birth. And because these women were more likely to stay home and cook and clean, they were less likely to go out and help the men. And because the men were killing huge game, trading with other societies or other groups, and since they were providing more than what the woman could, this resulted in the men becoming more dominant. And these hunter-gatherers soon developed into civilizations, in which their societies became more developed and advanced. And these civilizations were urban-centered. They had religious structures, they had political structures, like law systems such as Judaic law, the law of Hammurabi, and this was over a course of time that these developed. So they developed military forces for protection, and they also had social structures that developed so based on their citizenship or their loyalty to the group, and based on economic power. As seen before, here, the hunter-gatherers, those who settled near the rivers, they were considered more wealthier. So that was that's economic power there. And social classes, slaves were not just based on ethnicity. They were caused, if you become a slave, it was either caused by death or crime. And there was also the inequalities faced with women and men. Another thing about civilizations is they also developed writing, artistic and intellectual activity, and material complexity. And over the course of time after this, civilizations grew more complex. More civilizations emerged. And this included Greeks, who inspired Romans who developed a great deal of architecture, Egyptians, who had a strong class system. They had Chinese, barbarians, and these were just some of the few civilizations who developed different societies based on different beliefs. And these societies traded using money. They also traded stones, spices, and silk among each other. They had beliefs. They had religious beliefs. Apart from Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim, they also developed monotheism and the belief in one God or more gods. And other things that developed were other academic disciplines such as mathematics or philosophy. Sociology did not occur until later, very much later. But again, there was a social structure, so there is sociology to this. So from the Middle Ages to Renaissance, the Roman Empire disappeared, and Christianity was the most common religion. But also during this time, hierarchy class systems became more common. And as you can see from this triangle here, it shows the class system. So here are the peasants, the serfs, the poorest of the poor, and this could be described as protection. And here are other peasants or commoners. This could probably also include clergymen, tradesmen, but at the very top they had a king. And this is just an example of class systems that were very existent throughout this time. That's how their society was structured. And then there came the Renaissance period. It was a rediscovery for arts, writing, and knowledge. And society also grew off of this because there became more books, and one important person that made a contribution during this time to society was Sir Thomas More. He was an author who wrote Utopia. He was a humanist, a lawyer, statements, and Catholic matter. But he used his book to describe a perfect society that was non-existent. And his belief was that this society was non-existent because of the class system at the time that wouldn't allow for a perfect society. And other things that happened this time was there's many restrictions placed on society depending on who had most power, and those with most power made people like artists conform to paint certain depictions, and if their depictions weren't right, they weren't allowed to show them, or they weren't even allowed to paint. And over the course of time, so societies grew a lot from the time of hunter-gatherers to the Renaissance. And it all started with just survival. And throughout the time, they developed very complex societies with hierarchies. They developed more advanced technology, more advanced everything. But as a result, these society faced inequalities and different levels of opportunity. Some people were allowed to receive more opportunity than others, but these opportunities still made societies grow, and it contributed a lot. And over the course of time, these societies soon developed into what we have today, and why society is shaped the way it is today. But that is my presentation. Thank you.